lucky door prize tickets. If you don't have a lucky door prize ticket, Tia's just over here in the beautifully polka dotted dress with her hands up in the air, like she just don't care. She does care, but you know. If you haven't got a lucky door prize ticket, we were saying we think there's about 4 of you that maybe don't. So if you don't, please go and see Tia before the end of the day. We want to give you a prize. We want to put you in the draw to get a prize at the very least. We're also going to do the wine pool between speakers. So for those of you who haven't done a wine pool before, we've got some wine bottles for sale over there. They're $20 a pop. You could get absolutely anything in there. There's some wine from here at Gledswood. There are some bottles of Prosecco. There's a couple bottles of, and this is controversial, depending on how you pronounce it, Moët or Moet. Moet, somebody has said. A couple bottles of that. You don't know. It's like an adult lucky dip, I should say, except with wine. So you don't know what you're going to get, but $20 to get in that. So between Tina and Ruben, we're going to get you guys to go over and take part in that as well. And don't forget, we're selling products and T-shirts, and we've still got raffle prizes online and live in the building raffles for sale, so please feel free to do that. Also notice that there's a little heart-shaped butterfly money box just next to the water station up there. If you see those around, feel free to pop $1 or $2 or $5 or $100, whatever you like. It's up to you, it's your life. But into the money box for us as well. So we've already had her come up and speak once today, but we needed to hear more from her because a little bit of Tina's just barely enough. What's it? Oh, she's given me that look. For those of you that were her teacher, or she was your teacher, what's that look like? Disapproving mixed with angry? Yeah, okay, good. Tina Meyer is the founder of Blue Butterfly Institute, a trauma-informed not-for-profit organisation supporting victim survivors of sexual trauma and their families. With a background in education, counselling and advocacy, Tina is passionate about creating a safe, healing spaces for connection and empowerment. Since founding the Institute in 2021, Tina has helped grow the organisation from one local support group into a thriving community offering free counselling, support groups, advocacy and holistic healing services across multiple regions and online. Through her courage, authenticity and unwavering compassion, Tina continues to inspire others to believe that even from the deepest darkness, something beautiful can emerge. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and president, Tina Meyer.
Do you know, I always trust the gods on guidance for what I'm going to say, so I haven't written speeches in the last couple of years. The gods decided to play a nasty little trick on me this year, and they've given me about 5 million different threads. And as early or as late as 4 o'clock this morning, when my dogs decided to wake up the entire neighbourhood. The theme this year is a seat at the table, and we're looking at the men's experience. I'm not a man, in case there were any doubts about that, I am not. I identify as a female. So we might ask, why am I up here? And I think the main reason is that my first sexual abuse occurred when I was around 1 year of age. And that perpetrator was my father. And that continued throughout my life for a fair few years. And then there were other perpetrators who came into the mix as a result of those boundaries being compromised, and me then not knowing what was normal or what was right. And I was born in 1971. So at that time, it was not very normal to talk about sexual abuse. And as a child, I didn't even know that there was anything wrong with that. It didn't feel right, but I didn't know necessarily that there was anything wrong because it was my lived experience. I think where it parallels a little bit with the men's experience is at that time growing up that way, I didn't share what had happened to me with anybody until I was in my early 20s. And that first person I told was a psychologist. I was studying psychology and I thought, might be time to see someone. I started getting a lot of flashbacks because I'd moved away from home and things weren't making sense in my behaviours. And I thought, when I started doing some research, hello autism, and started putting all of the facts together of who I was and what my experience was like growing up and how I didn't think I quite fit in. And I took that to a psychologist and I sat down with her, God bless her, at Bathurst when I was at uni, and said, I've got all of these indicators. I need you to tell me that I'm right and that I haven't made this up in my head. And she looked at me and she turned my piece of paper upside down and she said, why do you think this was your experience? And so we started a dialogue around that. I told my mum a few weeks after that, and she verified aspects of it. Thank God that she did that, because otherwise I would have continued to just go nuts. But I didn't tell anyone else for a long time afterwards because there was a lot of shame around it. It wasn't something you talked about. You don't introduce yourself and say, hi, my name's Tina Meyer and I was sexually abused by my father and multiple other people when I was a child. You just don't do that. That's not how we function in our society. I think it potentially might need to be, because what I have realised is there's nothing wrong with been sexually abused. That shame does not belong to me, it belongs to the perpetrators. And realistically, I've just gone blank, you've got to love that when that happens. Realistically, I have lived a blessed life in spite of that. Whilst there are still moments of shame, they're very fleeting. I don't feel vulnerable when I speak anymore. When I first started speaking, I would speak, everyone would go, oh, that's fantastic, I feel really inspired, and would tell me that, and then I would die for a few days at home hiding because the shame would still come. I think it's really important that victim survivors get to share their story their way in their time. I have had people over the years press me for information. I need to know the dates, I need to know the times. No, sorry, that's not access for you. You don't have that access. One of the things that strikes me the most about my own experience, and I'm very conscious that we have a lot of victim survivors in the room today, more than we usually do. For a long time, I thought that I was broken. In fact, for probably, how old am I, 55? Probably for 50 years I thought I was broken and there was something damaged with me. That it meant that I wasn't able to sit in society, I wasn't able to do a lot of stuff. It took a male coming into my world and him saying, after hearing I'm broken narrative a lot, saying, you're not broken, I need you to stop saying that. I don't look at you and see you as broken. He said, sure. If we were going to use an analogy, let's look at a table and one of your legs is a bit wobbly from time to time, but you didn't chop that leg off, so that's not your fault. And this is a story I share with some of my clients because I think a lot of us, especially of my generation, male and female, do believe we're broken and that someone's done something to us that has damaged us and made us unpalatable for society, and that's just not true. We're not broken, something was done to us. The more we talk about it, the more the shame lifts, because it's not our shame, it belongs to the perpetrators, and the more then that we can empower ourselves to move forward in our lives and take hold of our life fully and wholly so that we get to live the dreams that we have. On that note, my dream is sitting at home with my dogs and my closest people in a garden that I have created, which I no longer have time for, so my garden looks like absolute shit. That's the dream. Some of us, unfortunately, then cast upon a path whereby we think it's important that we share our stories and our lived experience so that other people can benefit from our stories, our experiences, and not have to walk the entire path alone thinking there's something wrong with them. So that is why we started the Institute. That is why we continue. That is why I'm not at home alone in my garden with my closest people and my dogs, because this is important work. It's also full moon in Sagittarius today. So let's just introduce ourselves to another aspect of Tina's crazy character. It's a blue moon, meaning it's just the second full moon in a month. It's not as rare as it's made out to be. Having said that, full moon in Sagittarius, and if there are any astrologers here, please do not correct me because I've embodied this knowledge for myself and it's now my truth. And thereby, it's now all of your truths as well. It's about speaking your truth and being in your truth. So are there any accidents that today we're having the high tea about this theme? It is really important that we look at what's holding us back from living our truth and living the dreams that we want to be living. So in front of you on your tables, Tina is a witch, so this is bona fide. The Sagittarius release, what I would like you to do on that, and you don't have to, no one's making you do it. I might, but I'm probably not going to have time. On the back of that, there are pencils and pens on the tables. Anything that you would like to release out into the ether that is stopping you from living your best life and the dreams that you want to accomplish, anything that you feel is stopping you, that goes on the back of that. There is a basket at the back near the cork boards, and you can put those in there. I will take them home. The moon goes full, I think it's 6:43 tonight. I could be wrong on that. It's on my diary, so I'll know. And I intend burning them in my backyard to release them. What I do advise, don't write too many things. Write 1 or 2 things, because when it's released, it then makes you confront the reality of those, and that can sometimes be a little bit messy. So that's a disclaimer. You don't have to do it, but I will take what's in the basket home tonight and burn it. You've also got little butterflies, like a paper cutout butterfly. On that, I would like you to write 2 to 3 things, prayers, intentions, affirmations, things that you want to achieve, things that are important for you that look like your truth. They are going to be pinned onto the corkboard. You can colour them in if you like, you can do whatever you like with them. They'll be pinned on the corkboard, and we'll take photos of that, and then we'll keep that collectively there with some energy for a while, probably up until the new moon in 2 weeks. Then you have a sheet that says, someone hasn't got their glasses, because I have a seat at the table, I will. And I would like you to make some sort of statement there. When we say a seat at the table, what does that mean to you? What action can you take as a result of having a seat at the table? For so long, I didn't know there was a table, so I didn't invite anyone to my table. I have, in most recent years, invited a lot of people to my table, and sometimes it's been disappointing, but most of the time it hasn't. There are people in my life who have been at my table for most of my life and weren't even aware of it. And I want to give mention to 2 of those here today. I have 3 of my old school friends when we were back in school 4 million years ago. I was there 4 million years ago. They were there 2 or 3 years ago because they are that young and youthful. Jenny lived in our home a lot, so she saw some bits but not everything, and without her friendship and her ongoing friendship, I wouldn't be here. The other one is Kathy. Her parents and she, when I had been so badly physically abused by my dad when we were in year 11, opened up a caravan for me to stay in for a few months so I could get my life back together. Without those 2 making those small things in their life, coming to my table, I wouldn't be standing here with you. And I can probably say that for a hell of a lot of people in this room, that had it not been for the small things that you've done, the small pieces of yourself that you've offered, I wouldn't be able to stand here. So when people say be proud of what you've created, I can only be proud of what we have created, because we're all sitting at the table. Today you are all literally at the table. And without your support, we wouldn't be able to continue and do the work that we do. So you can all give yourselves a round of applause and say thank you to one another for being here and having the courage to do so. Thank you.
Not bad for someone who didn't know what they were going to say.